Hello! Welcome to the next lecture of ARCHLine.XP Advanced course, where we will be dealing with doors and windows. We will be working on a project by Andrea Nagy. Let's get started. Let's look in the Design Center under the Building menu, Doors, at the Indoor and Paneled subcategories. We will see that there are many different types of doors to choose from, but often we may not find the type of door we need for a particular project. In this case, we can create a unique door for which we can choose from 3 different methods. The first method is to use an image, then save it as a material and place it on the door leaf. The next method is to download an object from the 3D warehouse and save it as a door. The third method is to use the door wizard. Well, let's get to work and see what kind of doors we are going to create. I have downloaded some images from the manufacturer's site that we will use. Let's have a look at these. First, we are going to make this front door panel. In order to use this picture, we need to drag it onto the floor plan. So I drag and drop it into ARCHLine, then I place it. Then I have to save it to the library as a material. I do not change the name. The category should be My, and I have already created a subcategory called Door. I will save it there. This will pop up the Materials dialog, where we can set the properties. It is very important to set the position of the material not as style but as stretch. This way we will be able to fit this material nicely on the door. I accept with OK, so it is now in the library. This door will be used to place the material we have just saved. I look for it in the Material library, in My category, and then in the Door subcategory. Here it is. I'll take it and simply drag it onto the door, and then I'll choose the replacing one material with another on this object command. Apparently it looks okay, but let's look. If I rebuild only this model in 3D, I click on it and rebuild it with the hammer icon. I switch views to navigate easily in 3D. The material on the door frame also changed, and on the other side of the door, the material should be mirrored. So I need to save the mirrored image of the material as well. As you could see here before, I already have mirrored the image in the folder because I made it in advance. So now I'll just click on the door and enter its properties. I'm able to specify separately the external and internal material of the door leaf. The outer material will be front door panel 1. The other side will be panel 2. Let's see if everything is set. I change the material of the frame. This makes the door ready. Let's look at it in 3D. That's done with the first method. Now, I'm going to place a sliding door in there, which I'm going to download from the 3D warehouse as an object, then convert it into a door. Let's see how we can do that. After downloading, I place it on the floor plan. Now, if I were to place it in the wall as an object, the program would not cut out of the wall. That's why I have to save it as an opening. But to make it work as a door, we need to take a few steps. The first task is to create the front view of the door and place it on the floor plan. I've done this in advance and also scaled it up so we know the exact dimensions. We also need to draw its floor plan symbol Since the top view of this object is not a standard door symbol, we can make such a symbol using a drafting tool, either rectangle or a polyline, which I also drawn in advance. Then we need to save this symbol as a group. I choose Drafting menu, 2D group, Create group in Library, and select the entire drawing. I accept it with Enter, and then I click through on the reference points. I click on all the nodes, then hit Enter to accept and save it to the library. This will be the sliding door plan. Then I right-click on the object and choose Edit Object, Convert to Door Window. On the left, we can see the floor plan symbol, which I need to change to the one I just saved. I load it from the library. The next task is to set which is the front and which is the side of the door. This diagram will help us with that. Here, we will be able to set them up with the nodes. I'm going to grab it and adjust it in place. Our next task is to set up what type of opening we create. This is of course a door. I'm going to leave the frontal view option active. We only need to do this if the frontal view profile is not rectangular. If we look at the door, it is not rectangular because it has an opening. If we save the door like this, the program would not cut out the wall in this part. So we therefore need to specify the front view profile as a rectangle. I accept it with OK and save it to the library, indoor category and sliding door subcategory. I'm not overwriting the original object. I then drop the front view and edit it here to a regular rectangle. I will do this by deleting and moving unnecessary nodes. I'm going to start here. Click on the nodes and simply delete them. And then I'm going to move and delete those as well. If we look at it now, we got a regular rectangle. So now we will be able to use it as a door in the project easily. I look it up in the library. I drag and drop it onto the floor plan. I choose the command Place it from the wall endpoint. I switch a reference point with a spacebar and place it at the end of the plinth. Let's look at it in the 3D. I'm going to change its material. We have finished creating the custom sliding door. Now we come to our third topic, which is the use of the door wizard. I'm going to go back to the floor plan, I'm going to work there, but first I'm going to switch a view in 3D so we can see this front door again. In the following, I will create several doors which will be placed here. Let's look in the folder at the next door we are going to create. This will be one from Jeffcoat's manufacturer. I'm going to drag this one in the same way onto the floor plan and place it. It is very important to scale this image to work with it very easily. To get a scaled image, we have used calibration so far. That way we can be sure that the image is scaled. The next step is to draw the case and insert. In the same way, I draw a rectangle around the corresponding parts of the door, thus obtaining their dimensions. And so now I will be able to measure very simple and will be able to tell exactly where the insert is located in the door leaf. I have already prepared this sizing in advance. I'm going to turn on the layer in the layer walk. It will be Japholz one. This will be the door I'm working with now. We will make the rest later. Here we can see its exact dimensions, so I will be able to work very easily in the door wizard. I go over the 3D window and zoom in on the floor plan view of the door so we can see it. I open the door wizard, which can be found under Building menu, Door, New Door. We will go through all the settings to make the door. Let's first look at the scheme where we can choose from several options. The new door can be single, double, asymmetrical, with top or side lighting, or even curved or slanted, or sliding doors. But all of them can actually be traced back to single-winged door number 1. So if we learn to set this up and make it, then we will be able to work with the rest easily. The next setting is the main parameters, where I can set the overall width and height. As I said, this will be 1000 mm by 2100 mm door. The next is the representation. Here I can set the display of the threshold in 2D. I will turn this on now. I can also turn the display of the frame profile's bounding box on the 2D symbol. Set the marking of the opening direction symbol, which should remain curved, and the display of the opening direction in 3D. It can already be seen here. I will turn this off now. I can even open the panels. I will deactivate this as well. Let's go to the frame menu. Here I will be able to set the frame and its profile. This should be a rectangular profile. The profile should be 50 mm wide and 100 mm high. This will be fine. The door leaf will cover the case by 10 mm. We can also see that 40 mm is visible, and since the profile is 50 mm, it will cover 10 mm. Let's continue. The X and Y offset will now be 0. I can adjust the frame to match the thickness of the wall, so I can make a case that goes all the way around the wall, but that won't be necessary now. We will be able to set the material of the door, which is beige. Let's go further to the threshold. Here I choose the threshold 3 profile. The width of the profile will be 50 mm and the height 20 mm. I will not change the X and Y offset here either. The material, however, is also beige. The next is the panel menu. The door will open inwards and to the right, so that's what I set. The opening angle in 2D will be 90 degrees, and the opening angle in 3D can stay at 35 degrees. Here I can set the material of all sides of the door or separately the inner and outer sides. If I select all similar ones, I will be able to set them all at once. Let's go to the geometric properties. Here we have to adjust the thickness of the wing, which will be 40 mm, and the offset relative to the center line. So where the wing should be located in the case. This should be 50 mm, so we'll get a door that looks like this. Compared to a normal size, I will set the offset to 40 mm on 3 sides, on top and on 2 sides. I will show you why in a moment. I will update it. This is how we will get that 10 mm cover on the case. Let's move on to the edge profile. I turn it on and see the settings. The profile should be panel edge 3. I adjust its width and height. Its width will be 20 mm and its height 40 mm. That is how we are going to achieve what we are used to seeing on the doors in real life. That's what we have such a staggered design. And so the door will cover the case nicely. Let's go to the Insert menu to create the insert we see on the right. We can prepare this in several ways. I can adjust the distances from the right, left, and bottom top sides. This is the first option. If I turn off the use of offset for all sides option, I can enter the size of the insert and the XY offset. I will now choose the first option and enter the distance from the sides. The offset is 590 mm from the left side, 150 mm from the right side, 220 mm from the top, and 180 mm from the bottom. I still need to set the thickness of the insert, which will be 5 mm. We will be able to see the changes by clicking on the refresh button. I set its material glass, which we also used for the sliding door. We have to adjust the insert edge profile too. I will extrude the edge profile from the wing, so I will adjust the thickness of the edge profile of the insert. First, I select the edge profile type. Let it be Panel Inset Edge 5. I will adjust the dimensions, so it will stand out, since the thickness of the wing is 40 mm. It is very important to select the Align Profile to Middle option here. Let's go to the next menu items. These are the inner and outer handle. The type of the handle can remain classic, but I will choose bronze material. And for the outside handle, I'm going to set spherical handle, like this one, and I'm going to select the bronze light material for that as well. We can add additional decorative elements to the door in the Accessorize menu. I'm not going to do that now, but I'm going to save the door in the library. Its name should be Jeff Holtz 1. The category should be Indoor, and I will create a subcategory called Jeff Holtz Doors. Then accept it with OK. I switch to the floor plan view and place it. I will specify the opening direction. I have to modify the planes because the previous door was only 900 mm. Let's see it in 3D. Let's see what the next door will look like. Now we will make one where the insert is centered. Actually, I will not create a new door, but I will modify the previously placed door, and I will do it several times during the video. So I go back to the 3D view, right-click on the door and select Opening Properties. We are back in the door wizard, and this is where I'm going to modify its properties. Since I only need to change the inset, I'm going to go into the Inset menu and adjust the spacing so that it is centered. It will be located 370 mm from both sides, so left and right. I redrew it with the refresh button, and we are actually done with it. I save it to the library under the name Jeff Holtz 2. And if I accept it with OK, the program changes the placed door. I go back to the floor plan and let's see which door is going to be the next one. On the face of it, it looks a bit more complicated, but we can create it very simply. We can do it by creating a new inserts, but then we would have to enter a lot of values and we would have to know exactly with what height and at what distance to the right and left these inserts are placed. I'm going to show you a very simple way to create this, and that is to create a multiple profiles. So I'm going to choose the Drafting, New Profile, Define Multiple Profile. We will save this profile in the library, which we will be able to refer to in the door wizard. Thus, with a few clicks, we will be able to create this door with multiple inserts. So I'm going to choose the multiple profile, and then I choose the option Closed Loop, inner point of an area command. I click into one of the drawn inserts, then enter the reference point on the left, and again use the command to go through all of them. Then I accept with Enter and I save this profile in the library. Let it be Jeff Holtz profile. I will save it in the Door and Window category in the subcategory. I go back to the 3D window. Here I click on the door with the right mouse button, then select Opening the Properties again. I will select the frontal profile that I just saved earlier. Right now, we don't see exactly what is here on the right. For that, I still have to adjust the distances from the right and left sides. I move it 170 mm from the left side and 160 mm from the right side, 320 mm from the upper side and 560 mm from the lower side. I update it and we made the complicated door very simply in a few steps. I also save it to the library as Jeff Holtz and we check it in 3D. Let's also look at the next door. We will prepare this in the same way. We save this pre-drawn profile as a multiple profile and then select the frontal profile in the door wizard. I go back to the 3D view and start it. I go to Insert menu and click on the plus button to find the Jeff Holtz profile, and then adjust the distance from its sides. The right and the left sides will be 160 mm and the bottom and top will be 180 mm. I update it and we are done with it, so we can save it to the library under the name Jeff Holtz and accept it with OK. The next door will be a type of door where we will not move a specific glass insert, but we will make a recess which will be made with bronze material. Let's have a look. I go back to the 3D and zoom in on it. I will enter the door wizard with the right mouse button again, and I will select Jeff Holtz profile for the insert and we will adjust its distance from its sides. I have to turn off the edge profile of the insert, and I will also turn off the edge profile of the wing in order to achieve a nice result. It will be 700 mm from the left, 140 mm from the right. 0 at the bottom and the top, but we cannot enter a value of 0. I will enter 1 mm. The thickness of the insert will be 30 mm, so it will be milled into the wing by 5 mm. Finally, I set the bronze material. I choose this light bronze material, which we also used for the work knob. We are done with that. I'm going to save this as well. It's going to be Jeff Holtz door, and I save it into the same category we've been working on so far. In the following, I will show you how to create a door or window profile in the program. Let's see what exactly I mean. Here I have already drawn this insert in advance, which will be a glass insert with thin dividers between them. I can access the door or window profile command in two places, either here in drafting new profile or building door new door. So that's what I'm going to choose now. The program helps us how to prepare it. We have already created a closed or even an open profile, but not yet one with a closed profile and several open profiles. So that's what we are going to look at now. First, I will create a contour with a rectangle, so the closed profile into which I will create open profiles. So I will draw these vertical and horizontal lines. I draw the first vertical one, then I press Enter and draw the next one. I can always draw a new line after pressing Enter. So after drawing each line, I press Enter. When we are ready, we will be able to close the command with one more Enter and save the profile in the library. I accept it with OK and go back to 3D. Then click on the door again with the right mouse button. I will select the opening properties. I turn on the Insert Edge profile and I will select the profile I just set for the insert and adjust the distances. I set the left and right sides and the top side to 180 mm and the offset from the bottom to 220 mm. The thickness of the insert should be 5 mm. I'm going to make a few more adjustments to the Insert Edge profile. I will set the height and the width of the profile to 10 by 10 mm, so we will get the thin dividers. I'm going to set its material to glass and we are actually done with that. I save it to the library under the name Jeff Holtz in the same category as the previous ones. Let's see it in 3D. The last topic I will present will be how to make a sliding door in a door wizard. In Seams, I will select the sliding out one type door. So we are going to make a single leaf sliding door with an external track and look at its settings. Let's move on to the main parameters. The size can remain. For the representation, we will see the same settings that we have used so far, but I will turn on the display of the opening direction here. In 3D, we can open this door in the same way. Let's go to the frame. There are no side frames here. The top frame will present the track, for which I will set a U-shaped profile. So here in Profiles, I will look for the U profile. I have to change its position. I have to mirror it. By clicking on the pencil, I get the correct position with mirroring it along the y-axis. I will set the width and height of the profile. Here the values will be exactly the opposite. So the width will indicate the height and the height will indicate the width. Its width will be 100 mm and its height will be 50 mm. I will set the X and Y offsets. The X offset will be minus 100 mm. This is how the door leaf will run in the track after the leaf adjustment. And I set Y offset to 0, then the door will run in the middle of the track. Its overhang will be 1010 mm. When we open the door, the track will extend beyond the wing by 10 mm, and we are going to set its material to aluminium, this bright aluminium. Let's go further to the threshold. I will enable the threshold and select the threshold 3 profile. The width of the profile will be 50 mm and its height should be 5 mm, and here I will also set the 1010 mm length addition. I will also set the material to bright aluminium. I will not change the X and Y offsets. Let's move on to the wing and panel. Here I can specify the material as well as the opening doors. I will select all similar ones here and find Exot 03 from the list. And then we can go further to geometric properties. Here I can set the thickness of the wing, let it be 20 mm. We can move it in relation to the center line, but that's good for us. It will run completely in the middle of the track. What I still have to adjust is that I have to move the upper side to minus 90 mm so the wing will fit nicely into place. And in fact, we can place inserts in it, in the same way as we did for other doors during the workshop. And I will also reserve the opening direction so that it opens to the other side. Finally, let's do a 3D opening animation to see how this sliding door opens. In the next section, we'll focus on door and window variants. Variants are elements that differ only slightly from similar items. They offer a convenient way to save new elements in the library by adjusting a few parameters. The advantage of variants is that they appear in the reports, lists and consignments, and they remain distinct from each other. This way, group editing can be easily narrowed down to a specific variant, for instance, to 900mm wide windows within a family. Variants can also be assigned to elements created with Door Window Wizard. However, the method of creating the inset must be taken into account. On the floor plan, I replaced the last plate sliding door with the previously created Jeff Holt's door 22. We'll create variants for this door. When modifying properties of the door, save this door as a variant in the Door Wizard Properties window 1000 by 2100. Then, further modify the door in the Door Wizard. Set its width to 900mm and save it as a new variant 900 by 2100. Continue modifying the door in the Door Wizard. Set its width to 800mm and save it as a new variant 800 by 2100. The door width has now changed to 1000mm. Create a duplicate of this door on the plan. Now, two 1000mm wide doors appear on the plan. The task is to replace 1000mm wide Jeff Holt's door 22 items on the plan with the 900mm wide variant. From the Design Center, select the variant and drag it onto one of the doors. Do not keep the previous settings. The door replacement is complete. This brings us to the end of today's video. I hope it was useful for you, and we will see you at the next workshop. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.